The topic of where in Israel the United States Embassy is has been an issue really for years, probably more than 20 years at minimum, I would say. And it's been a bigger and bigger issue since Donald Trump became president of the United States, specifically because his appointment of David Friedman as ambassador of the United States to Israel came with the known desire of David Friedman to not only continue expanding settlements in Israel, which is a disaster, obviously, but also to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And yes, indeed, Donald Trump told both Arab and Israeli leaders yesterday that he plans to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and to eventually move the embassy there. And the actual movement of the embassy, that part's going to take a while. It could take up to 6 months, but the recognizing of Jerusalem as the capital would happen immediately. And that's really the immediate controversy. And I've said it before, we're talking about it, so I'll say it again. It's a disastrous idea to unilaterally move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. But I think it's necessary to explain what's going on here and why this is a huge deal. People have been emailing me saying they may not exactly understand what the implications are here. Here's one example email I got about this from a viewer named Matt, who said, "Hi, David, being embarrassingly unaware about Middle Eastern matters. I was hoping you could address this topic and explain the controversy around it. I really just don't understand it, and I don't even know which questions I should be asking to begin to educate myself. For example, maybe this is a dumb question, but why does the U.S. have a say in determining which city of a foreign country is its capital? I ask you this not because you are ethnically Ashkenazi Jewish, but because you have a track record of providing comprehensive explanations of complex issues." So here's the controversy, Matt, to begin with and sort of set up our discussion. Within Israel, Jerusalem is considered to be the capital of Israel, but Jerusalem is part of the disputed territories in Israel, which include the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and even within Jerusalem, it's mostly East Jerusalem that is in dispute, although as a result, the status of Jerusalem more broadly as a capital city is in dispute. So as a result, internationally, Tel Aviv, which is the coastal city in Israel on the Mediterranean Sea, is considered the capital for all intents and purposes. And the reason why moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem would be controversial and a bad idea is because you have, quite frankly, an intractable situation with peace negotiations in Israel. It's a total impasse, a huge part of which centers around land, and Jerusalem is part of that, is a crucial part of that. And saying we're going to put our embassy in Jerusalem as if it were the undisputed capital of Israel internationally is a total diplomatic FU. If there is such a thing as a diplomatic FU, this would be it, plain and simple. And it's going to hinder what I've been pretty clear about are already a very limited chances of serious peace negotiations going forward, particularly with the people that are in power representing Palestinians, particularly with Benjamin Netanyahu and his far-right extremist coalition in power in Israel. The U.S. unilaterally making the embassy move and recognizing Jerusalem as the capital is breaking with international consensus on something that is just simply not settled. It is not settled in any way. And once again, it's sort of like with Trump being making the U.S. the one country that doesn't participate in the Paris Climate Accords. Trump is the guy saying, nah, Jerusalem is the capital, we'll put our embassy there. Now, you could have a situation where eventually, as part of a peace agreement, West Jerusalem is Israeli and East Jerusalem is Palestinian in a non-disputed sense, but that hasn't been negotiated yet. We have East Jerusalem as a disputed territory right now, and this move by the United States will help nothing. And it's been totally written on the wall. As I said, the day after Donald Trump selected David Friedman as ambassador to Israel, an absolute and total extremist, another one of his outrageous positions, and I've mentioned this before, I want to say it again, is that Friedman is of the mindset that we should be, that Israel should be, and the U.S. should be indifferent to or encouraging or allowing Israel to build more settlements. And the range of opinion on settlements in Israel is, and I'm creating sort of a spectrum here, the settlements must be destroyed up to the settlements that are there can stay if there are meaningful land swaps eventually. And David Friedman is way outside of what is already a pretty wide spectrum of opinion on the issue of settlement. So to go back to the policy of it, Donald Trump told us Jared Kushner is going to go in and negotiate Israeli-Palestinian peace. Now, that's a joke to begin with, right? But let's imagine for a moment that Jared Kushner was going to go in and negotiate Israeli-Palestinian peace. The United States needs to appear to be an unbiased broker. Once the U.S. unilaterally says, we recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, that means we are taking a side in a number of ways, and it destroys the Trump administration's credibility as a possible arbiter of peace. But to be honest, there was not ever really a good shot of the Trump United States being that arbiter of peace, and nothing changes here as far as Israel is concerned. They've seen Jerusalem as the capital, period, throughout this period of decades. It hurts the United States, and this is a completely optional way that Donald Trump is finding to hurt the image and credibility of the United States around the world. It's symbolically disastrous, aside from whether there would really be credible peace negotiations at any point. Optional, unforced error.
And even if you say that, all right, we're going to give up on brokering a peace deal between the Israelis and the Palestinians, we're just going to take the Israeli side, shouldn't we be getting some concessions for this move as well? I mean, where's the art of the deal here? We should be getting something from the Israeli government for this, right?
If you are Trump and you're aligned with the far-right Benjamin Netanyahu, you don't want concessions. It's sort of part of the problem. In other words, the rhetorical question you're asking is correct, which is, if we are doing something that presumably Israel wants to happen, which is the international community to recognize Jerusalem as the capital, if this was an actual push-pull negotiation, we would maybe try to get some kind of concession from Israel. But the fact that there's not even a desire for that, this is something Trump and Friedman want. That's sort of the sick reality of it.
Interesting, yeah. And I think it also just has to do with Trump trying to fulfill some campaign promises.
I guess.
You know, now maybe he can get tax reform done or get his travel ban upheld. This is just the next thing, and maybe his voters really don't understand the issue too complexly.
Oh, they don't.
He does.
They absolutely don't. And if I was conspiratorial, I'd wonder whether this wasn't a deliberate action to flare tensions in the Middle East and take away attention from, insert scandal here. And that's already happening, right? This is already having a destabilizing impact on the Middle East. Turkey says that this declaration of Jerusalem as Israel's capital is going to start, quote, a fire with no end in sight. They announced that they're going to be hosting a meeting of Islamic nations in the region, sort of to give other Muslim leaders, other Muslim country leaders, an opportunity to create some kind of coordinated response to this. Pope Francis said he's profoundly concerned and appealed to the that everyone respect the status quo of the city of Jerusalem, which is, of course, disputed at this time. What is the upside here? That's really my question. What is the upside? Is it what Pat is pointing to, that maybe it's an accomplishment that Trump can check off? It just feels to me like fundamentally this is so far down the list of priorities for the Trump voters that it's not a good one to just go unilaterally on, but maybe I'm missing something, and we'll continue to cover it. The video you just finished watching was made possible by you through the membership program. You can sign up for membership at davidpakman.com/membership. We are viewer-supported independent media. You can use the coupon code IVOTED17 for a 40% discount off of your membership.